Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So Putin and Trump got together, and Melania got a nice gift. Right? Uh, so Trump says he and Putin made great progress today. Putin agrees. Right? Wouldn't you like to know exactly what they talked about? So Putin, he and Trump have reached an understanding on Ukraine, warns Europe not to torpedo the progress. Trump, there is no deal until there is a deal. We didn't get there. Trump says he's going to call NATO and Zelensky next about what they spoke about. So it is, like I said, Trump is going to ask Putin how much time he needs to basically destroy the Ukrainian army. And I think that's where we're going because it is very close. So Putin looks like he gave Melania Romanov era emerald ring set with diamonds at the summit. So what does this mean? That's what I want to know. That's a nice gift, but what are you trying to convey there? Kind of like the soccer ball thing, right? So here's a picture of it. Romanov. So very, very interesting time frame. I'm sure it's worth millions, right? So, or somewhere thereabout. So it's very interesting. So they didn't reach an agreement per se. It's basically they talked and they're like, okay, this is what we'd like to do, and then Trump's got to go to Europe and NATO and Zelensky and get those cats to agree on something. Right. So she's a Romanov. Is she a Romanov? Interesting. Maybe that's why she got a Romanov ring. How about that? So Tracy says, I saw the picture. We'll talk about it later. I took a screenshot of it. That doesn't look like the two of them for real. Oh, yeah. I agree. That doesn't look like Putin and Trump. So I wouldn't send my president or, to a meeting like that. There's too many, there's too much deep state out there, guys. So I agree. Very, 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 very unlikely that was the two of them. They sent in pretenders basically to negotiate, and we'll see what happens afterwards. Now, I had a show with Juan O'Savin, and I'm going to talk about it, right? I'm going to decompress it because he revealed an incredible amount of information. You'll have to listen to the show to get all of it, but I'm going to give you the gist of what we talked about, and we talked about a lot of stuff. So we started talking about Africa, and so he's talking about South Africa. So we all know that South Africa, it's ancient alien stuff. It seems like it because they have these very, very ancient, and they're thought to be 150,000 years old. Michael Tellinger has talked about this for a very long time, and they had gold mines there, and that's a very, very I guess they got a lot of gold out of there. So we've heard of gold coming out and going to Planet X, and they put it in their atmosphere, the Anunnaki and all that kind of stuff. But that seems to be part of South Africa, and we were talking about all the different things that have come out of South Africa. First heart transplant or first heart machine or whatever. And Elon Musk, it came out of South Africa. And there seems to be, they have their own nukes. No one talks about that. So he talked about that as well. He talked about the nukes that are up to 200 nukes that are out and about. Now, as someone that used to, work with tactical nukes when I was in the SEAL teams, the backpack nuke was a tactical nuke, basically to blow up passes and so forth. Not really designed to fit in any kind of ordnance and be shot through artillery or dropped as a bomb. It was something you had to physically go in and activate in a certain area, and then it would blow up in that area. So of course, if that was in a city, there'd be lots of people that would get killed, thousands of people, potentially, depending on where you put it. But obviously, it's not going to do as much damage as a nuke that's dropped from the air, or that's shot from a torpedo, or all the different ways that nukes can be delivered. So 200 of them seem to have like escaped from Soviet Union during their collapse. And so it looks like the Trump administration is trying to find all those. So that seems to be, excuse me, the big interest right now for South Africa, one of them, right? The other one is because they're killing, the South African government is killing 100 whites and coloreds. So you have black, you have coloreds, that means, mixed race, and then whites. So they're, the whites have been there for hundreds of years, multi-generational. And during that apartheid, where they handed some of the government over to the blacks and so forth, basically that was a scam, right? It was a big scam. So the communists came in, and the communists are trying to basically eliminate the whites. Trump is talking about having 40,000 whites come to America, because they're killing 100 of them a day or more. And they're not like just shooting them, Juan says. They're doing horrendous things that he wouldn't talk about on air, right? And so you can let your imagination run what that might be. Now, a lot of that is intimidation for other whites, because they're bringing in, I guess, from other provinces and so forth, other blacks to take over their farms and everything. So it's pretty. The Congo also is another one. Congo has lots of minerals and so forth. They had a huge copper mine. It was run by an American company, and it was seized by communists. All right. So the communism is a bad thing, and it seems to all be backed by China right now. So we talked about all that. I talked about how it relates, as far as Africa, as far as South Africa, to California. And so I said at first glance, you'd be like, yeah, they're taking away people's rights and so forth. Yeah, California does that. It's just very, very corrupt, just like it is in South Africa. But they're not. California's not killing people like they are in South Africa. And I was like, so what about directed energy weapons? So directed energy weapons. So Juan went deep into that. He described how they were dropped over a military base, right, in Area 51. So all these different chemicals and so forth that caused a superstorm, pretty much, for the desert heat to come into California. Of course, they drained the reservoirs and so forth, so there was no water on purpose, getting ready for this event. And they killed a lot of people. All right, directed energy weapons, as we've seen in Lahaina, where we still have massive amounts of missing children. They use those directed energy weapons on people and burn them, sometimes to ash, or like fry half their bodies, like we've seen from some of the pictures that has been shared with me when I did several shows in Lahaina. So we also talked about 9/11. So I asked Juan, I said, what about 9/11? Why don't people in political positions and in high-level positions, military, so forth, talk about 9/11 like we talk about 9/11? Because Juan went through the whole thing that, I've done dozens of shows throughout the last couple decades on 9/11. Every time it came up on 9/11, I was watching 9/11. I was like, that's an inside job. I knew it right then, right? because they have a demolition background. And planes crashing into buildings don't drop buildings into the footprint. Bullshit, complete bullshit. So he said no planes crashing a building. Correct, I agree. He also said that there were explosives inside the building. Correct, I agree. Thermite, yes. And then he went on to talk about directed energy weapons, right? And he said directed energy weapons are basically a full gamut. And just like the burning of LA and Lahaina, it was done by a negative group of military. All right, so we talked about that. Building 7 on 9/11 dropping his footprint. We just talked about so many. Juan was on a tear today, guys. He just like lit it up. So we also talked about on the same lines of communism exerting itself in South Africa. We also talked about how the Chinese are exerting themselves here in America. They basically captured our election. They through the COVID. All right. So where did COVID come from? It came from California. It came from China, communist country. And there's lots of people throughout America in key positions that were working with China for the 2020 election steal. Right. So we already know all about that. And that is going to come to a head soon. Right. The 2020 election steal. So China, like, so they went to electronic voting instead of in-person voting because of COVID. So they used that. So it was all planned out. Now, the tribunals. Why military tribunals? Why are we going to have military tribunals? Juan went into detail about this. Very, very good job. Very, very insightful. Now, I believe that the arrests are going to be happening in the fall. So the fall is like, starts in September, yes, 21st, but really October, November, and into December, and into the following year, right? Arrest. And so Juan said the rest will come in waves. They will start probably the end of October after Hillary Clinton, because she's scheduled to testify on the Russia 2020 election lie. So they're going to have all those people, and Hillary's the last one. So Brennan and all these other people that were involved in that are going to testify. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they won't show up. Contempt of court. So they're supposed to show up. And Hillary's the last one. And then within a week or two after that, the arrests start. Now, the reason why it's going to be military tribunal is because of like directed energy weapons used by the military, secretive stuff used by the military. So military trying its own organization, right? So the military tribunals, all of these people did treasonous things. When you try to subvert or steal an election like they did, that's treason, all right? Now, they're also involved in doing the same thing in countries around the world. Now, Juan has said 71 different countries have also had their elections stolen, just like in South Africa. So South Africa, they wouldn't have the savages that are there basically running that country if they'd had free elections. So if they have free elections, we may see then we're going to start to see a lot of this stuff start to pick up. Because just like the Hillarys and the Bushes and all of them, they're no longer anywhere. They're in government nowhere. No Bush family members in government. No Clintons in government. So peripherally, yeah, they try and like have an influence on, different ways, but they don't have the protection that they did before. That's my thoughts, right? Juan didn't say that, but I see it that way. So they're separate to a great extent. Of course, they still have minions that still believe in them. They're obviously MK Ultra, but a lot of them will start to awaken once these trials come. Once the arrests start, we may start to see some of these cities get crazy. We'll see Democrats run to the cities because Democrats are going to be exposed because Democrats cheated in the 2020 election. So that's going to expose probably almost all the Democrats, all right? Virtually all of them. So all of them will run to the cities, just like we saw from Texas. All of those Democrats run to Chicago and New York because they know it's up. They're basically done. Now you see Gavin Newsom, playing his game, but a lot of these people are going to end up like Nero. All right, Nero, remember, burned Rome so he could rebuild it in the way he wanted, just like they're trying to burn all these cities and turn them into 15-minute cities, like Nero, right? So when Nero was exposed and people started to revolt like we're doing now, then the truth came out. The Senate said that he's basically persona non grata. He's no longer, he was exposed of having done this evil. Just like Newsom and Hillary and all these other people are getting exposed for doing evil. So then the people are going to start to turn against them. And then they're going to run. Like we've heard that John Brennan has run to, keep forgetting the name of that country, but he's run to a little European country. What is that? Next to Germany. What's that one country? So anyway, word is he ran. So Nero tried to run, and the military chased him. Austria, thank you, MGD. So the military was chasing him, and he eventually committed suicide. Right, or so the story goes. Austria, yeah. Thanks, guys. So that is what's coming. So they've been burning America. They've been doing this evil. They've been stealing elections. They've been killing us with the direct energy weapons in 9/11, and also in our cities. Burning us, Lahaina, Paradise. So they never talk about how many people actually die in those, because there's nothing left. They're just missing forever, right? So like the children in Lahaina, just missing. And the FBI comes in and says, no, there's only this many people that are missing. So the FBI, under Biden, of course, was compromised, right? And they sent some people out there that were just complete, puppets. And they just told everybody, yeah, there's this many people have died, and that's it. But yeah, there was a lot of people died. And there's still a lot of children that are missing. So that's some of the stuff that's being revealed. So expect arrests to start in October, end of October, and then start to carry on, and they'll come in waves. So information will be revealed, maybe some testifying or something, and it may not actually be the people that are going to be arrested, but they will be arrested eventually, and then they will go to Guantanamo, and they get it easy, right? All those people that were burned alive in, the Twin Towers, people that jumped out of the building because they're being microwaved, right? They're ripping their clothes off and they're jumping out of the buildings. I've heard reports upwards of 1,000, but if you look it up, of course, they're still manipulating that. So I asked Juan, why, like I said, why are all these people, no one talks about 9/11? It's like, duh, you got to be a friggin' moron at this point not to understand that 9/11 was a manipulated event. A moron, all right? If you still know somebody out there that still believes in that narrative, they are a moron. All right. So he said the reason why people don't talk about it in high levels is because of the news. So the news came in, see like Bluebird back there on the little Bluebird, right? Yeah, hey Bluebird. So they say the news basically created that, Mockingbird media. They came in and said, "Oh, that's conspiracy theory. If you believe in that," so people just don't do it because their reputations, their credibility will be destroyed, and they can work on the inside and just play dumb about that. It's like there's so many people who play dumb about that. I mean, I could start naming names, but it doesn't really. It doesn't. A lot of morons, EA. That's too bad. I don't know a lot of morons at all, right? I don't know anyone that doesn't believe that 9/11 was a fix. So birds like Mike, that's right. They hang out with me. They drop their feathers for me, and I pick them up, and I was like, "Thank you for that." So, especially the bluebirds, because my son is associated with that, so he leaves me messages all the time. It's kind of cool. Maybe that was him popping in. So there is a lot of this stuff that's going to be revealed. So once it starts to come out, just like we've seen in other stuff, we start to see people really start to talk. Once someone talks, like Mike, and then someone else talks, and then someone else talks, and then someone else talks, and someone else talks. COVID-19. A lot of people are talking about COVID-19 now. And remember how, I'll tell you someone that doesn't talk about 9/11. That's Rogan. So remember how Rogan came out and talked about how he used ivermectin and he didn't believe in the shots and all that kind of stuff. And he got attacked like crazy. He was able to do that at the level that he did, and he got really super famous, already famous, but he got even more famous after that. But that was because there were so many of us that had been disclosing that information for years. And then he jumps on the bandwagon and it's like, oh, Rogan is like, he's got, no, we all work together on that. But, if he takes the credit for that, which I don't think he does, but if he takes credit for that, it's fine with me. I don't care. It gets out there. It gets out there. I'm not here for my ego. I'm here to serve humanity and help people wake up to the evil. So once the evil is awakened to, we can defeat it, right? On a massive level, very quickly. And that's one of the things. I was 4 blocks away from Twin Towers. All my friends and I were 31, and we all worked downtown. I worked at Beer Stearns. Awesome. But 3 of my friends worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. I went to 12 funerals. Yeah, that's sad. At least 77. Very sad. So there's plenty of people talk about that. I know people that I know of one person, only one person. They got money. Remember how we gave millions and millions and millions of dollars to the survivors or the families of 9/11. I only know of one person that got some kind of payout, and it wasn't that much. So, anybody in here know of anybody? I'm sure there were some payouts because they have to make a facade of this. All right, it's like when I worked in the CIA. I was on the good guy side, and the good guys do a lot of good work, and everybody sees that. Oh, the CIA is great, but in the background is the baddies, right? The baddies, a little small group of people that really do evil things and control everything. So yeah, very, very sad. All of the things have been happening. So yeah, military tribunals, they're going to continue. Wave after wave after wave after wave of military tribunals. And military tribunals, because of all of the high tech, like we talk about the military stuff, an average judge would not understand it, would not know how to convict on it. So that's why it has to happen. And also because of the treasonous stuff that's been done by massive numbers of people, that is usually a military thing, because you're affecting, the country. So the military gets involved when it's affecting the lives of the country. Although we do have military that are black hats that are affecting us as well. So that has to be dealt with. So a lot of this stuff is going to be dealt with, but it's going to take time. But it seems to be moving in a direction very quickly. So the trials are coming up in October. So that's like a month and a half, 2 months about a month and a half away. Right. So early October is when they start about the 2020 election fraud, Russia hoax. So we're going to continue. As that starts to happen, then we'll see other things that will begin to be revealed. So Juan also has talked about Extortion 17 that happened after the bin Laden raid. So Juan, now when I was there, I was helping to find bin Laden, or whoever it was that was playing bin Laden. I think somebody was playing bin Laden. And there were so many of us on the good guy side that were pushing on this. They had it always on the back burner. Now, Juan said the reason why they did the hit, when they did the hit, was like a few days before that is when Obama's birth certificate controversy came up, where the one woman that had signed off on his being born in Hawaii, which is a lie, and she was in a helicopter crash. She didn't die in the helicopter crash. She drowned. So the helicopter crashed. Everybody else got out and survived. Everybody but her. She drowned. Now, Juan talked about how there were lots of military that was involved in that. So we're seeing there's some very, very evil things, and I can tell you myself, that for my time in the military, there's some shady stuff that went on. Same thing in the CIA, right? So Juan disclosed a lot of that stuff. He said there was many submarines in the harbor where the helicopter crashed. There were planes overhead. There were planes controlling the communication. There was a large submarine that was there. So a lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff that's going to be revealed, and as some of this gets revealed, like the Russia hoax, then we start to reveal more, and then there's more, and there's more, and there's more. At some point, way down the road, we'll start to do the, ET stuff. That's everybody like the ET stuff's coming soon. I don't know that. I don't know that ET stuff comes soon. It'll come when it comes, but it's coming. So a lot of these people are going to go down. So bin Laden, was it even bin Laden? No, I don't think so. And was it all staged? Was the whole bin Laden thing staged? So Juan says he's talked to many people within my former community, because he has access still, obviously. I did afterwards. Now, the thing that really shook my confidence that it was real was there was a case officer, CIA case officer, female, and there's security, and there's case officers, and there's analysts, and there's chief of station, chief of base. So you have all these different personalities. So I work well with almost all of them, but sometimes we worked even better. There was, communication going back and forth. What do you think about this? What about this? This is what we know, blah, blah, blah. So we would we would help each other, inform each other. So I would go to sometimes to some of the analysts that would fly in if something was hot. They would, instead of, a cable being written and then sent back to Langley, CIA headquarters, they would fly somebody out because that takes time. So they have to look. It takes time to go out. They look at it. It takes time to come back. So instead of that time, if something's really hot, they would bring analysts out. And so a lot of times these analysts would have me give them information because everybody knew that I was an intuitive guy, right? So I would teach them intuition, and I would talk about how I did the remote viewing and all that kind of stuff. So it was very interesting. So I had a really good connection with a lot of these people in the CIA. And so this one woman that was going, she's all excited because it's like, I'm going to get to go and interview all of bin Laden's wives. I think he had three or four wives, whatever. And so we're like, oh, all right, so we're going to get some good intel on this. And so she goes and does the interview, and she comes back, and it's like from that point on, I was only there for another couple of weeks, but from that point on, it was like she saw a ghost. So in my mind, because I'd seen all these different bin Ladens, and I was like, they got all these different bin Ladens, so it's like, which is real. There was talk that the original bin Laden had died of, I guess he had kidney problems, had died kidney failure. But there's all these talks, even amongst us, and even amongst the intel community, guys. There's like chatter and gossip and all that kind of stuff, because we don't always get the full picture. Unless you're there, you don't get it all, right? So there's compartmentalization everywhere. So she comes back and she's like, she's seen a ghost and she does not talk to anybody for the rest of the time. I was like, yeah, they must have told her that was not bin Laden. That was in my mind. But what if they told her more, right? Some other things, like that was all staged and it kind of leaked out to her or whatever. So I don't know. But Juan believes it was staged. And that's highly a possibility. Now he basically said, and he was very irritated about this, that Extortion 17. So Extortion 17 was the SEALs that basically, so the guys that came in to do the bin Laden raid were my old squadron, Red Squadron. So there's different squadrons in SEAL Team 6. And when I was there was Red Squadron, Blue Squadron, and Gold Squadron, right? I think there's more now. I can't confirm or deny that, but there may be more, right? So anyway, Red Squadron did the hit. Gold Squadron was the one, supposedly, because Juan doesn't believe it, like I don't believe, that Extortion 17 took all those guys out. Because imagine this. Imagine the President of the United States. He flies Air Force One, at least our president, President Trump. He flies Air Force One. Beautiful, beautiful, big, I've been on one of those planes before. I got a tour of it. I didn't fly on it, but I got a tour of it. It's amazing. And so imagine President Trump, instead of flying Air Force One or the helicopters, the high-speed helicopters he flies, he gets on a commercial aircraft and he goes all the way to the back of the airplane. That's kind of like SEAL Team 6, Gold Squadron, getting on that funky helicopter they got on and getting shot down, right? Very unusual, right? So Juan talked about that. So I'm glad Juan talks about that, because I talk about that. I remember talking about this when it happened, and I had all of these military guys come in and like harass me. And I was like, well, it's sad, those guys went down, blah, blah, blah. All right. So now I've had it from other people. So I was like, why do they cremate those guys right away? That's really weird. And that's not normal. And so, because they were so smashed up, is what we heard. And then we heard from a woman that was in a bird that was basically surveilling everything. That was Air Force. They have we have these birds basically that coordinate. They're big birds, usually Air Force. It's like a 707, 727, something like that. They're huge. And on there, they have banks of computers, and they have these officers that sit in front of these computers, and they direct traffic or do different things or fire control, all kind of crazy stuff. So this one officer, this female that was on one of those, she comes out and she talks about how it was all bullshit. Not that it didn't happen, but it was bullshit that they didn't come and try and help those guys right away. Because she said, I remember, and she talked about it looked like one of the SEALs. They were looking at it from an infrared camera down, and they could see the body heat leaving. I was like, they let you talk about that? So I was like, yeah. So, and who knows? Maybe it's real. I don't know. I don't think so. From my experience, I say bullshit. But anyway, she came out. She talked about that. It was all kind of stuff that was like counter, and then of course I was being like hushed, shh, don't talk about it, type stuff. And I was like, okay, whatever, right? Uh, we'll see. We'll see at some point. So I've heard from other people that that helicopter, when it was hit, it was on the side of a mountain, or close to the side of a mountain when it was hit. And it went down and it rolled down the mountain. So imagine being inside of a helicopter and it's rolling over and over again at high speed. That's like a blender. That's like a blender in there. It's not pretty, right? So that's happened to other people, and pretty much no one survives on those. So it's it gets to the bottom of this like valley. It's stuck in the bottom of the valley, and it blows up and it burns. So anyone that was on there would have been burned to a crisp because it burned for hours. So no one could go and have rescue. So what was that one officer talking about? I saw them, and why didn't somebody come and rescue? So you see, even in the intel community, you got bullshit going around, right? Disinformation. So sometimes you have to sift through it. So Juan said, and then after all those guys burned, then there was a big storm, and water came down and flooded that helicopter, the remains of the helicopter that had burned. So it's like, how could you even find any ashes, anything? So crazy. So I don't think those guys were on it. That was and that's what Juan said too. So I think Extortion 17. We've seen the guy with a little curly Q. He says, he comes out and talks about that. It's like, in fact, let me bring that up because that came out a while back, and his hair was gray, and I thought it was darker. Maybe he showed there was another photo, but it came out just recently, and I said, yeah, because I've had people contact me because I've talked about this over the years, and I've had people discreetly contact me that were family members and said, so and so, do you know if those guys survived? And I'm like, I have suspicions that they did. And some of the relatives have contacted me and said that they were contacted by these guys later. All right. I've never revealed this before, but now that Juan's up, see, this is how this works. So now that Juan is like, it's out of the bag, I could bring some of my stuff too. All right. So this is the way this stuff works. Now, let me pull up this one. I got to scroll through X a little bit here. I'll pull it up. everybody got really excited about it when I mentioned it, and got a lot of views. Got almost 1 million views. So I said, Extortion 17 helo with SEAL Team 6 operator shot down in Afghanistan has at least one survivor. Right? It was a setup, and those responsible are about to go down. Right? So these military tribunals, that's definitely not a civilian court's going to handle that, right? So you see how a lot of this stuff is going to be military tribunals. I believe very strongly that there's going to be one for that. All right, so here he is, right here.
You want the whole truth. You deserve the whole truth.
Now, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Maybe I should go into StreamYard with it. So let's see if I can go into StreamYard. So basically, y'all know who this is, don't you? So I thought this was a new one, but evidently it's an old one. It's the old one that first came out. So yeah, my bust. But I think everybody's on board with this is very suspect, and they want to see this thing basically people that are involved to be held accountable. So I think it's coming. One is of the opinion that it is coming. All right, so I'm still pulling it up. All right, so here it is. It's in StreamYard now. I should be able to do it in StreamYard. So let me go over there and do it. That way you'll be able to hear it.
Truth. You deserve the whole truth. You want the whole truth. You deserve the whole truth. So here's the thing. Find out who I am. And for those of you who know, you're not saying anything, well, those golden tickets you have are really lined with lead. Because until the whole truth comes out, it's all just lies on both sides. So anyway, TikTok.
So
Have some
golden tickets. So golden tickets lined with lead. So remember how at Bush Senior's funeral, when Trump came in, well after everybody else had arrived, came in late, and then they passed out all those letters. It's like their golden ticket, and on that golden ticket was like it was lined in lead, kind of, with some wording. So that's kind of what he's talking about. You guys thought you killed us, but that golden ticket you had to, like, possibly kill us or whatever, it's lined with lead. And lead, like lead bullet, who knows? Lead coffin, and you get dumped in the water, the ocean, kind of like Bin Laden. They said they dumped his body in the water. Maybe these people are going to be dumped in the water. We know that JFK was also dumped in the water. Right? He was not buried in Arlington. So a lot of this stuff is coming out. A lot of reveals are coming. Now listen to this last piece.
Have fun with this. Find out who that man is with the silly curl on his forehead. I had forgotten I even had that curl for decades. Strangest thing having your memories wiped out.
Strangest things having your memories wiped out. Now, secret space program, memories get wiped. And was his and were the rest of the guys, were their memories wiped? Possible, right? And then they basically revealed, because having those memories, they would want to get back to their families. They would want to get revenge, all that kind of stuff. So maybe there was an initial wipe, and now they have, like somebody put in the chat, total recall, right? So imagine if you were on an operation or scheduled to go on an operation, and you find out they were going to kill you, And then another group came in. It's like, guys, you need to come over here. They're going to kill you. We're going to keep you safe. And then they do the whoop, right, the light. So, and then years later, they like after you've done missions and you've been doing stuff, taking down bad guys, Obamas and all kind of who knows, Hillary's or whatever. So you get your recall back, and then you come out and you do something like this. Now, some people have said this is faker. Why would somebody come in and fake that? I think like I said, there are bad military out there, guys, that are going to discredit that. Just like maybe some of those guys were like leaning on me to stop talking about this. I figured, because some of these guys were people that I'd worked with in the SEAL teams at one point. So how I've talked about, I believe there is a SEAL team that's very secretive, not like SEAL Team 6 that was built on merit, but a SEAL team that was built on other things. And maybe some of those people, like me being in the CIA, I got good missions and I thought I was doing a good thing. And then I started to see things. I've had people from that organization contact me and tell me that it's not good. They do bad things there. All right. So whether they come after people like myself and harass them or something else, I believe very strongly that's happening. Right. So we need to be aware of that. There is some very bad military out there, and they need to be handled. Right. I think during President Trump's first, and I asked this, I asked Juan about this. I said, well, what about all of those generals and admirals and so forth that President Trump got rid of? And he said that didn't stop once Trump was out of office. All right, so it's been a continuous operation to take down these negative factions within the military, right? So were some of these guys part of that? I bet they were. Right? So memories wiped, memories back. It's interesting to see and speculate on how this is.
Well, anyway, take care, TikTok. Godspeed.
All right, interesting stuff. We can only speculate. I can speculate a little better because of my background. But we're going to see a lot of this stuff get exposed, and it's coming. It's already been coming. We've already been exposing a lot of this stuff, the 9/11 stuff, the COVID, all the lies, all the people involved in the lies. We've been exposing them. Corporations that were involved. Juan talked about Zuckerberg and how he, spent $500 million of his own money to help, make sure we had good and fair elections. And they put all those drop boxes out there and they filled them with illegal ballots. So some of these people that are involved in some of these corporations are guilty as well, guys. Guilty of, because Zuckerberg, part of, the larger picture of stealing election, that's treason, that's executable. You get executed for that, right? So you're going to go to a military tribunal, Zuckerberg, and we're going to see, right? So once that happens, then other people that have been holding back, like I just did, I know people have contacted me about these Extortion 17 guys that they were still alive. They've been contacted. So once the ball starts rolling, people realize that these people can't reach out and destroy their lives like they've seen other people get their lives destroyed. Still happening, right? So we still have a lot of work to do. Yeah. Bill Gates, all and Bill Gates's wife, right? So or whatever that is, neither one of them looked like the same they did, 10 years ago. So what happened? What happened to them? All right. So it'll be very interesting to see how this works out. I know we're all anticipating. The anticipation is blended with truth that's already starting to come in. All right. So we're seeing Tulsi Gabbard, basically, call out Gates and the making these bioweapons, gain of function, going after all that. All of that's horrific. And then all the people that were involved in all that, Fauci and all the people that were in Trump's team that basically were pushing all that stuff. So they're all probably going to go to Guantanamo. So imagine Fauci, and who is that woman that was also with him? She's been gone a long time too. It's a totally different person that's playing her part. So the medical wave will go. There'll be a political wave. There'll be a medical wave. Burks, yeah, thank you, Dr. Burke. Very good, Art on the Lake. So, and so Fauci was a different looking Fauci, just like Joe Biden. Joe Biden was executed. So Fauci executed probably. Burke's probably executed already. But will there be a trial for all of them with their lookalikes, and then they get executed? Maybe even their lookalike gets executed because they're working for the deep state, right? So it's a lot. It's a lot that's coming. It's going to be traumatic for a lot of people, but many of us are ready for this. Scarf lady, that's right. Senor Rojo. See, we'll see a lot of this stuff just unwind very quickly, I think. And then there'll be a pause. There'll be a way. Those people will wave off. They'll go through their trials in Guantanamo, executions, and then long time, hopefully for the rest of their lives in prison. So that's going to be very traumatic for a lot of people. And then the big cities, some of those big cities will resist. There'll be people that will say, oh, hell no, that's all. They're like, we're already starting to see the military's taking over our towns, and that's not right. It shouldn't be like that. It's like, it should definitely be like that, because otherwise, yeah, the 3 days of darkness, right? So maybe 3 days of darkness anyway. So is that a man-made 3 days of darkness, or is it a 3 days of darkness that's coming from the universe, right? So I lean to the universe, but we could still see some kind of shutdown. Could be from the deep state, could be from the white hats, could be a combination of both, and it could be in certain areas like just New York City, just Chicago, because everybody else knows, but those people there, they're going to resist because they're compromised. MK Ultra bad. All right, the media taking the media out will be a massive movement for reveals. I think a lot of people that are, compromised, if they just had the media stop bombarding them with bullshit, a lot of them will wake up, right? So we'll see the media basically be taken down, I believe. The bad media. Of course, then we have the good media, like this platform and other platforms that will continue. All right. So very interesting times are afoot, and we will see some very chaotic things. We'll see market gyrations and crashes, crypto crash, silver and gold go to the moon. All right. So we want you guys to survive this. You know, physically, financially, mentally, spiritually, and so forth. So we're trying to give you as many tools as possible, trying to give you as much information leaks as possible, right? So that it's not such a shocker. I think we've done a really good job of that for the most part. Some people don't agree, but they're compromised, so it doesn't matter. All right, guys, lots of love. Stay in the love vibration. A lot of you guys tuned in for this show. Thank you. Hope it serves you. Hope it helps you. And we'll keep these shows coming as much as we can. This is what motivates me. Sometimes I just like to go out in the wilderness. My wife will tell you that, and just disappear out there. But I always come back because I know that humanity needs this. And I get a little shove every now and then, and it does motivate me when I do this. It's good for my heart. All right, I love it. It's good. All right, guys. Stack your silver. We'll see you next time. Stay in the love vibration.